Supreme Fleet Commander Vrex'lar clicked his mandibles in irritation as the holographic display before him pulsed with three bright dots: human vessels, broadcasting their positions on all standard frequencies as if they were civilian cruise ships rather than military vessels. The command center of the Imperial warship Inevitable Dominance buzzed with the nervous energy of a crew that had heard the rumors but never experienced the phenomenon firsthand. "Commander, the human vessels have increased broadcast power by 22%, reported Lieutenant TK Locks, her translucent fingers dancing across the sensor panel. "They're practically screaming their coordinates across the sector." Vrex'lar's four eyes narrowed simultaneously, each pupil contracting to a pinpoint. "And our intelligence confirms this is deliberate?" His voice carried the particular tone of an officer who knew the answer but hoped desperately to be wrong. "Yes, Supreme Commander." The crisp voice came from Intelligence Officer Molag, who strode forward with a data tablet clutched in his tentacles. "We've compiled instances across 17 sectors. The pattern is consistent. Human military vessels occasionally broadcast their positions with no attempt at concealment." And he hesitated, his skin shifting to a nervous purple hue. "Vessels that respond typically do not report back." A low murmur rippled through the command deck. Vrex'lar raised a clawed hand for silence. "You're suggesting these primitive bipeds are using themselves as bait?" Vrex'lar's voice dripped with skepticism. "That's tactically absurd. No species would willingly expose themselves to superior forces." Molag's color deepened. "The humans refer to it as trolling, Supreme Commander." "Trolling?" "Explain this concept." "It's derived from an ancient human fishing technique where bait is dragged behind a moving vessel to lure predatory aquatic creatures," Molag explained, projecting an animation of the primitive practice. "In modern human context, it appears to mean enticing an opponent to make a predictable move based on emotional rather than tactical reasoning." The Strategic Operations Officer, a veteran named Drevik with battle scars covering half his exoskeleton, snorted derisively from his station. "So they're comparing us to mindless fish? The arrogance is typical of humans. Arrogance or not." Vrex'lar responded, 17 sectors report missing vessels that pursued these broadcasting humans. "I want answers, not dismissals." The central war table illuminated with the profiles of the three human ships, two destroyer-class vessels flanking what appeared to be a modified transport. Their energy signatures were relatively modest, their weapons systems standard for their classification. Nothing exceptional, except for their bizarre behavior. "Perhaps their communication systems are malfunctioning," suggested an optimistic junior officer from the back of the command deck. Intelligence Officer Molag's skin shifted to the deep blue of professional certainty. "Negative. We've intercepted coded transmissions between these vessels. The broadcasting is deliberate and coordinated. They refer to it as Operation Dinner Bell." This revelation sent another wave of confused murmurs across the command center. Vrex'lar felt a headache developing in all three of his brain lobes simultaneously. Dinner Bell? They're treating warfare like a meal. Vrex'lar couldn't keep the incredulity from his voice. "Human idioms rarely translate well, Supreme Commander," Molag apologized. "But the concept appears to be that they are announcing food is ready with themselves as the meal." The Strategic Operations Officer laughed outright now. "This is ridiculous. They're practically inviting us to destroy them. I say we oblige these suicidal mammals." Vrex'lar's uppermost eyes narrowed at Drevik, while his lower pair remained fixed on the display. "That attitude, Officer Drevik, may explain why 17 of our vessels are now missing. The humans have survived 3 galactic wars not through superior technology or numbers, but through what they call dirty tricks. We would be wise to approach with caution." He turned to address the entire command deck. "This behavior contradicts every established doctrine of interstellar warfare. No species announces their position to enemies unless," he paused, mandibles working as he processed the disturbing implications, "unless they want to be found." The command center fell silent as the reality of the situation sank in. The humans weren't making a mistake. They were hunting, and they were using themselves as bait. "Supreme Commander, we have recovered the black box recording from the unyielding victory," Intelligence Officer Molag announced, interrupting Vrex'lar's contemplation. It's the only surviving data from Commander Quell's encounter with the human vessel USS Daredevil 6 lunar cycles ago. Vrex'lar's membranes flickered with interest. Display it. Full sensory feed. The command center's lights dimmed as the holographic projection shifted to show the bridge of another Imperial warship. A tall, imposing Vrexian with ceremonial battle scars stood at the command podium. Fleet Commander Quell, Vrex'lar's predecessor and former mentor. Human vessel detected, Commander, came a voice from off-screen. They appear to be broadcasting their position on all frequencies. Quell's mandibles clicked in what those who knew him recognized as amusement. A human military vessel? Broadcasting its location? To confirm. Confirmed, sir. USS Daredevil, destroyer class, Captain Jack Murphy commanding. Fascinating. Quell rumbled. Either their communications officer deserves execution, or humans are even more primitive than our studies suggest. Set intercept course. This will be a simple trophy for the Emperor. The recording showed Quell's ship accelerating toward the human vessel's coordinates. Tactical displays indicated the unyielding Victory was accompanied by 2 support frigates, creating a standard hunter-killer formation that had proven effective in countless engagements. The commander. The sensor officer's voice carried a note of confusion. The human vessel is not attempting to flee or go silent. They've increased broadcast power. Quell's head tilted. A gesture of Vrexian puzzlement. Show me visual. The recording's perspective shifted to an external view of a sleek, angular human destroyer. Its running lights were fully illuminated, and compared to Imperial design standards, it appeared almost fragile. Is it damaged? Quell inquired. Negative, Commander. All systems appear functional. Hail them, Quell ordered. Let's see if Captain Murphy wishes to surrender before we blast his vessel to particles. The communications officer worked his console. Channel open. Human vessel Daredevil. Quell's voice resonated with Imperial authority. This is Fleet Commander Quell of the Imperial warship Unyielding Victory. Your position has been compromised. Prepare to be boarded or destroyed. The response came through in audio, only a human voice, surprisingly casual given the circumstances. Hey there, Commander Quell. Captain Jack Murphy here. Beautiful day for a space battle. Isn't it? Say, while I've got you on the line, could you confirm something for me? Are you currently at coordinates 227 Mark 44 Mark 16? Quell's posture stiffened with indignation. You dare to request our position when your own incompetence has revealed yours. A chuckle came through the comm system, just making conversation. But thanks for confirming. Quell turned to his tactical officer, weapons lock. Prepare to. The recording suddenly filled with blinding light as space itself seemed to fold inward around the Imperial formation. Emergency alarms blared. Gravitational anomaly, shouted the sensor officer. Massive energy spike from nowhere. Evasive maneuvers. Quell bellowed, but his order came too late. The recording deteriorated into chaos as 3 previously cloaked human vessels defaced directly behind the Imperial formation. The black box captured the final moments, Captain Murphy's voice coming through once more. You know what they say about old fishing techniques, Commander? Sometimes the bait isn't the real hook. Trick bone. The recording ended in static. The command center remained silent as Vrex'lar processed what he had witnessed. That's how we lost the Unyielding Victory, he finally asked. They used one ship as bait and ambushed with hidden vessels? Affirmative. Molag confirmed. Analysis suggests the broadcasting ship transmitted precise targeting data to the cloaked vessels. The humans call this tactic fishing with dynamite. Strategic officer Drevik's earlier derision had evaporated, so these 3 vessels in our sector now could be bait. Vrex'lar finished the thought, or they could be a different trap entirely. That's the problem with humans, they rarely use the same trick twice. The investigation, understanding human psychology. Following the loss of the Unyielding Victory, the Imperial High Command established a specialized task force dedicated to understanding human military tactics. The initiative, officially designated as Behavioral Analysis of Mammalian Strategic Operations, but colloquially known as the Why Are Humans So Weird Committee, was led by the Empire's foremost xenopsychologist, Dr. Nezdak. Vrex'lar's data tablet displayed the doctor's preliminary findings as he reclined in his private quarters, nursing a glass of fermented nutritional supplement that burned pleasantly down all three of his digestive tracts. Dr. Nezdak's holographic image appeared above the tablet, her small stature and pale blue skin contrasting with the gravitas of her voice. Our investigation into human military psychology has yielded disturbing insights, Supreme Commander. Humans don't think like rational species. That much was already obvious, Vrex'lar muttered, taking another sip. What wasn't obvious? Nezdak continued, apparently programmed to ignore interruptions, is the extent to which humans incorporate recreational and cultural elements into their warfare. We've analyzed 6,000 years of their military history, and the pattern is consistent. Humans turn deadly serious matters into games. The hologram shifted to display various historical images, primitive humans hiding in wooden horses, others concealing themselves underwater with reeds as breathing tubes, ancient warriors painting themselves as foliage, primitive aircraft decorated to resemble fearsome creatures. They call it psychological warfare, Nezdak explained, but it's more accurately described as militarized pranking. Their entire strategic doctrine revolves around what they term messing with the enemy's head. Vrex'lar's upper right eye twitched. Pranking? You're suggesting a species has reached interstellar capability while approaching warfare as some form of practical joke? Precisely, Commander. Their military academies actually teach courses on deception, misdirection, and… Nezdak's translator seemed to struggle with the next phrase, and thinking outside the box, which we've determined involves deliberately ignoring logical constraints to pursue seemingly irrational strategies. The display shifted again to show intercepted human military communications. Columns of decoded text scrolled past, highlighted with annotations by Imperial analysts. Most disturbing are these recurring idiomatic expressions, Nezdak continued. With phrases like honeypot, wild goose chase, red herring, and bait and switch appear consistently in their tactical discussions. All refer to different forms of deliberate misdirection. Vrex'lar set down his drink. So these broadcasting ships are almost certainly part of such a scheme, Nezdak confirmed. What's unclear is which scheme. Our analysis team has identified at least 26 possible tactics they could be employing, from simple bait for a conventional ambush to elaborate multi-stage deceptions involving sacrificial vessels, false fleet movements, or even attempts to make us waste resources analyzing their behavior precisely as we are doing now. The commander's mandibles clicked rhythmically as he processed this information. You're suggesting that our very attempt to understand their psychology might be their intended outcome? It's a possibility. It's a possibility. Humans have a tactical concept they call wild goose chases, derived from a primitive training method where hunters would be sent after non-existent prey animals for practice. The broadcasting ships could be deliberately wasting our analytical resources. Vrex'lar's membrane fluttered in what the doctor recognized as exasperation. So what do you recommend, Doctor? If analyzing their behavior plays into their hands, but ignoring it leads to disasters like the unyielding victory, what tactical response remains? Dr. Nezdak's hologram shifted slightly, a programmed gesture meant to approximate a shrug. That's the most frustrating aspect of human psychology, Commander. Their strategic doctrine specifically aims to create exactly this type of no-win scenario. They call it damned if you do, damned if you don't. A reference to their mythology about inescapable torment. Wonderful, Vrex'lar muttered. So either I waste resources analyzing a potential deception, or I risk my fleet against a probable trap. There is one more element you should be aware of, Nezdak added, her tone growing more serious. Humans have an emotional motivation that appears incomprehensible to our species. They call it spite. The willingness to accept personal harm if it results in harming an opponent. Some of our analysts believe the broadcasting ships may be intentional sacrifices designed to draw in and destroy our vessels, even at the cost of their own. Supreme Commander, The human vessels have altered course. They're now on a direct heading toward the Nexus trading hub. Lieutenant T.K. Lox's voice carried the precise tone of professional concern without crossing into alarm, a quality Vrex'lar had come to appreciate in his sensor officer. The command center's main display updated to show the projected course of the 3 human vessels, their broadcast signals now pulsing even more intensely than before. The trading hub, a critical junction of 17 commercial routes and home to over 2 million civilian inhabitants, glowed ominously at the terminus of their path. Time to intercept? Vrex'lar demanded. They will reach the Nexus in approximately 6 standard hours, Commander. Vrex'lar's 4 eyes blinked in alternate pairs, a sign of deep calculation recognized by his veteran crew members. And if we were to intercept? Our current position would allow us to cut them off in under 2 hours with standard drive configuration, the navigation officer reported. The strategic implications hung in the air like a toxic gas. If the human ships reached the trading hub, the potential for civilian casualties would be enormous, assuming the vessels had hostile intent. Yet intercepting them could trigger whatever trap they had prepared. Vrex'lar felt the weight of command pressing down on all 6 of his shoulder joints. Commander, incoming transmission from High Command, announced the communications officer. A priority Alpha. In my private chamber, Vrex'lar ordered, rising from his command podium. Lieutenant T.K. Lox, you have the bridge. Maintain surveillance, but take no action until my return. The private communication chamber sealed with a pneumatic hiss as Vrex'lar settled before the quantum-entangled receiver. The stern visage of Grand Admiral Zex Cora materialized, all 8 eyes focused in what Vrex'lar recognized as barely contained fury. Explain yourself, Commander, the Admiral began without preamble. Why have you not intercepted the human vessels threatening the Nexus? Vrex'lar's posture stiffened. Grand Admiral, with respect, these vessels match the profile of previous human deception operations. I am proceeding with caution to avoid. Caution? The Admiral's translator barely managed to convey the contempt in the word. 3 insignificant human ships are broadcasting their presence in Imperial space, on course for our most valuable trading hub, and you respond with caution. The unyielding Victory also responded to broadcasting human vessels, Admiral. We recovered only its black box. Commander Quell was careless. The Admiral dismissed. You have an entire battle group at your disposal. Are you suggesting human trickery can overcome our technological superiority? Vrex'lar felt his color spots darkening with suppressed emotion. I am suggesting, Admiral, that underestimating humans has consistently proven costly. Intelligence suggests these broadcasting vessels are deliberately trying to provoke a response. Then give them one. The Admiral's mandibles clacked sharply. The Imperial Senate is aware of this situation. The Emperor himself has expressed concern about human vessels approaching the Nexus. Your hesitation appears problematic. The implied threat was clear. Failure to act would be interpreted as cowardice or, worse, incompetence. Consider your career trajectory, Vrex'lar, the Admiral continued, voice softening to a dangerous purr. The commander who eliminates a human threat to our civilian population becomes a hero. The commander who allows human ships to reach the Nexus unchallenged becomes a historical footnote, assuming there's enough of his reputation left to footnote. The transmission ended before Vrex'lar could respond, leaving him alone with the impossible calculation. A political suicide by inaction or potential military disaster through engagement. He returned to the bridge, where the crew awaited his orders with the rigid posture of those who had correctly guessed the content of a high command communication. The commander, Intelligence Officer Molag, approached cautiously. During your absence, we detected something unusual. The human vessels appear to be transmitting a secondary signal embedded within their location broadcast. Vrex'lar's antennae perked forward. What kind of signal? It appears to be music, sir. Molag seemed embarrassed by his own report, a human audio entertainment form. Our cultural database identifies it as something called Ride of the Valkyries by a composer named Wagner. Strategic Officer Drevik snorted. They're playing music while approaching a potential combat situation. This confirms their insanity. Vrex'lar wasn't so certain. or it confirms this is another form of psychological warfare. Molag, what's the significance of this particular music to humans? Historical records indicate it was often played during military operations to intimidate enemies. They called it getting psyched up for battle. So they're not hiding their intentions. Lieutenant T.K. Locks observed, they want us to know they're coming for a fight. Or they want us to think that. Vrex'lar thought but didn't say aloud. New plan. Vrex'lar announced to his command staff, who had gathered in the tactical planning chamber. We will intercept the human vessels, but not as they expect. The holographic display showed the current positions of all vessels, with projected trajectories glowing in different colors. Standard doctrine would have us approach in attack formation. Weapons charged, Vrex'lar continued, gesturing to one potential intercept course. That's undoubtedly what they're expecting, what they're prepared for. Strategic Officer Drevik's mandibles twitched with confusion. You're suggesting we don't prepare for combat, Commander? I'm suggesting we don't follow the script they've written for us, Vrex'lar corrected. Instead of our battle group, we'll send a single diplomatic vessel with a skeleton military crew. Meanwhile, the rest of our forces will execute a wide flanking maneuver using the Zendak Nebula to mask our energy signatures. Intelligence Officer Mulag's skin rippled with appreciation. And a human-style deception, Commander. Fight fire with fire. As the humans themselves say, Vrex'lar confirmed, transmit the orders. The diplomatic vessel Peaceful Discourse will intercept in 90 minutes. Commander Liz Donovan of the United Earth Forces vessel Bold Statement watched the approaching alien ship with a mixture of satisfaction and curiosity. Tactical Officer Martinez kept her updated as the alien vessel drew near. Just one ship, Commander. Registry identifies it as the Peaceful Discourse, a diplomatic vessel, not a warship. Donovan's eyebrow arched. Interesting choice. They're either smarter or more cautious than our intelligence suggested. They open a channel when they're in range. On the other side of the approaching encounter, junior diplomatic envoy Pelnak fought to control his nervous color fluctuations as he sat in the command chair of the Peaceful Discourse. He had been selected for this mission due to his 3 semesters of human cultural studies at the Imperial Academy qualifications that felt woefully inadequate as the sleek, hereditary human vessels loomed on the view screen. The human ships are hailing us, envoy, reported the communications specialist. Pelnak swallowed with all 3 of his throats simultaneously. On screen. The view screen activated to show a human female with short grey hair and a face etched with what Pelnak recognized as their species' version of experience lines. She wore a dark uniform adorned with modest insignia. This is Commander Liz Donovan of the UF Bold Statement. You're a long way from the diplomatic circuit, Peaceful Discourse. Pelnak had been coached extensively by Vrex'lar on his role. This is Envoy Pelnak. We detected your presence in Imperial space and have come to offer assistance. Your vessels appear to be broadcasting location signals at unusual power levels. Do you require technical support? A smile spread across the human's face, an expression Pelnak's cultural training identified as either amusement or predatory anticipation. With humans, it was often difficult to distinguish between the two. How thoughtful of the Empire to send aid rather than a battle group, Donovan replied. Tell me, Envoy, where is Commander Vrex'lar? Our intelligence suggested he commands this sector. Pelnak's middle heart skipped a beat. They knew Vrex'lar by name. The Supreme Commander has many responsibilities throughout the sector. I am fully authorized to provide any assistance your vessels require. I see. Donovan leaned forward slightly. And I assume he's fully authorized you to determine whether we pose a threat to the Nexus trading hub as well. I assure you, Commander Donovan, the Empire has no hostile assumptions regarding your presence or trajectory, Pelnak recited from his diplomatic script. Then you won't mind if we continue on our current course. We have a scheduled delivery of humanitarian supplies following a manufacturing accident at the Nexus. This deviation from the expected script threw Pelnak momentarily. The humans were claiming their approach was benevolent. He stalled while the concealed communication device in his ear canal vibrated with incoming instructions from Vrex'lar. Of course, Pelnak finally responded. though our records show no request for humanitarian assistance. Bureaucracy, Donovan shrugged. Paperwork probably hasn't caught up yet. We can transmit our manifest if you'd like. That would be appreciated, Pelnak replied, buying time as Vrex'lar's battle group continued their covert approach through the nebula. Transmitting now. Donovan nodded to someone off-screen. While we're exchanging pleasantries, perhaps you could explain why a diplomatic vessel is transmitting military-grade targeting telemetry to the Zendak Nebula. Not very diplomatic. Pelnak's skin flashed an involuntary shade of shock purple before he could control it. I'm not sure what you mean, Commander. We are simply... Save it. Envoy Donovan interrupted, her friendly demeanor evaporating. Your battle group has been visible to us since they entered the nebula. Inesol. Abordios. Ulenaa. Those old Zendak dust clouds might block standard sensors, but they light up like a Christmas tree on gravitational displacement scanners. In Pelnak's ear, Vrex'lar's voice hissed urgent instructions. The young diplomat straightened his posture. Commander Vrex'lar wishes to speak with you directly, Pelnak announced, relief evident in his tone as he gratefully surrendered the command chair to the Supreme Commander, who had been monitoring from an adjacent chamber. Vrex'lar's imposing figure filled the screen from the Imperial side, to Commander Donovan. It seems we've reached an impasse of mutual deception. Hardly mutual, Commander, Donovan replied with that unsettling human smile again. Your ships are still hiding in a nebula that doesn't actually hide them. Meanwhile, we've been broadcasting our position for 3 days while making a direct approach to the Nexus. I'd say the deception scorecard is rather one-sided. Vrex'lar's upper eyes narrowed while his lower pair remained fixed on the tactical display off-screen. Then perhaps you can clarify your actual intentions, Commander. If you truly carry humanitarian supplies, why the elaborate broadcast? Why the psychological warfare music? Why the direct course toward a civilian hub that has reported no emergency? Fair questions. Donovan nodded appreciatively. The broadcast is because we wanted to be found. The music is because my tactical officer has a flair for the dramatic. As for the Nexus, there was indeed an industrial accident 3 days ago, in the Geminoid processing facility. Vrex'lar felt his blood run cold. That's impossible. We've received no reports of any accident. Of course not, Donovan agreed. Because the facility was processing biological weapons in violation of the Arcturus Treaty. The Empire would hardly broadcast that information. The command deck of the Peaceful Discourse fell silent. If the humans knew about the secret biological research at the Nexus Research, even Vrex'lar had only heard rumors about, then the implications were staggering. How did you? Same way we knew exactly where your battle group would hide, Donovan interrupted. The Empire has a security breach, Commander. A pretty significant one. We've been monitoring your communications for months. Tactical displays suddenly flashed red as new contacts appeared throughout the system. 15 human vessels decloaking in a perfect containment formation around Vrex'lar's hidden battle group. Those are our actual warships, Commander, Donovan explained casually. The 3 broadcasting vessels? They're medical ships, genuine humanitarian aid for the 26,000 civilians exposed to compound XR-27 when your scientists had their little accident. Vrex'lar's mandibles clicked rapidly as he processed this information. If what you say is true, why not simply approach through diplomatic channels? We tried, Donovan's expression hardened, 3 times. Your diplomats denied any accident had occurred. Meanwhile, people are dying. So we decided on a more direct approach. By tricking us into a military confrontation, Vrex'lar demanded. By giving your military an excuse to let medical ships into the Nexus, Donovan corrected. After all, you intercepted potential hostiles and negotiated a peaceful resolution, allowing humanitarian aid to reach victims of an industrial accident. Your military looks competent, your government looks benevolent, and nobody has to publicly acknowledge what was really happening at that facility. A slow realization dawned on Vrex'lar. You were never setting a trap for my ships. We were giving you a way to save face, Donovan confirmed. Though we were prepared for less favorable outcomes, as your battle group can now see. The resolution. A new protocol. 3 days later, Commander Vrex'lar stood at the observation deck of the inevitable Dominance, watching as the human medical vessels departed the Nexus trading hub. Their mission complete, they had reverted to standard operational protocols: no broadcasting, no music, no provocations. Intelligence Officer Malag joined him at the viewport. The humans departed without incident, Commander. Their medical teams successfully treated 98.7% of the exposed civilians. And the Empire's official statement? As Commander Donovan predicted, we've been commended for facilitating humanitarian aid following an industrial processing accident. No mention of biological weapons research or treaty violations. Vrex'lar nodded slowly. And my report to High Command regarding the true nature of the human broadcast strategy. Transmitted via secure channel as ordered, Malag confirmed, though I doubt they'll believe it. The idea that humans would broadcast their position simply to help us save face rather than to spring a trap seems inconsistent with our understanding of their psychology. That's precisely why it was effective, Vrex'lar mused. They exploited our expectation of deception by being selectively truthful. A meta-deception. Your recommendation for a new protocol regarding broadcasting human vessels has been approved, Malag added. All commanders are now instructed to establish communication rather than immediate military response. Vrex'lar's 4 eyes remained fixed on the departing human ships. They're still the most dangerous species in the galaxy, Malag. Not because of their technology or their tactics, but because they're impossibly difficult to predict. How so, Commander? Because sometimes, Intelligence Officer, the most dangerous thing a human can do is exactly what they say they're going to do, especially when they know you won't believe them. As if to punctuate his point, one of the departing human vessels suddenly activated its broadcast signal again. But instead of coordinates or tactical data, it transmitted a simple text message on an open frequency. Thanks for the cooperation, Commander Vrex'lar. Until next time, Donovan. Sir, Lieutenant TK Locks called from her station. The humans are broadcasting again. I know, Vrex'lar replied with what his species would recognize as a resigned sigh. Add a note to the new protocol. Lieutenant, human ships that broadcast their location aren't setting a trap. They're letting us know we've already fallen into one.